The pounding on my front gate echoed across the quiet morning of my ranch. At first, I thought it was just some delivery truck stuck in the dirt road, but then I saw the flashing red and blue lights bouncing off the barn walls. Cops, on my land, out here in the middle of nowhere. My heart tightened, but not out of fear, out of anger. I hadn't done anything wrong, and more importantly, this was my property. The officer stepped out of his cruiser, hand resting on his holster as if he expected trouble. Behind him, a few cars idled, a clean, shiny SUVs, the kind you'd expect to see in a suburban cul-de-sac, not at the edge of a working ranch. I recognized the faces through the tinted windows. The whole board from the gated neighborhood down the road. My stomach sank. Of course, it was them again. They had been harassing me for months. Ever since the new development was built nearby, the HOA had decided that my ranch land that had been in my family for 3 generations, it was somehow an eyesore. They didn't like the cattle, the dust, the tractors. They wanted manicured lawns and white picket fences, not barbed wire and grazing horses. But the thing was a broken bar. I wasn't in their home, never signed anything, never agreed to their rules. This was my land, bought and paid for long before their little subdivision even existed. Still, that didn't stop them from trying to push me out. Letters threatening fines, calls from their lawyer, and now these are the cops on my doorstep. "Sir," the officer said, his tone sharp, "we've had complaints from the homeowners association. They say you're in violation of neighborhood codes regarding noise, fencing, and livestock. We're going to need you to step outside." I let out a laugh, low and bitter. "Neighborhood codes, officer? This is a 200-acre ranch. My property line is 2 miles from their little subdivision. I don't fall under their authority, and they damn well know it." The cop hesitated, clearly not sure what to make of the situation. I could see the HOA president, a woman named Carol who thought she was queen of the world, step out of her SUV and cross her arms. "We don't care what you think," she snapped. "Your land affects our property values. That barn of yours is an eyesore, and those cows stink up the place. We have the right to enforce our rules." Her voice dripped with entitlement. It made my blood boil. "My grandfather built that barn with his own 2 hands. My father had worked these fields until the day he died. Every fence post, every acre of grass held our history. And now this woman, who had lived here less than 5 years, wanted to erase it because it didn't fit her perfect picture of suburban paradise." I stepped closer, my boots crunching in the gravel. "Listen carefully," I said, my voice steady. "This land has been in my family long before your HOA even existed. You have no authority here. None. If you keep trespassing, you'll regret it." The officer shifted uncomfortably, caught between me and the angry HOA board. "Sir," he tried again, "maybe we can talk this out." But Carol cut him off. "Arrest him. He's being aggressive." That was the last straw. I walked past the officer and unlatched the heavy gate myself. Slowly, I pulled it open, revealing the line of my ranch hands who had gathered behind me. They weren't holding guns or weapons, but their presence was enough. These were men and women who worked hard, who respected the land, and who weren't about to let some entitled hoe bully us off it. "You want to play games?" I said to Carol. "Fine. But here's the truth. I've already filed a lawsuit against your board for harassment and trespassing. Every letter you've sent, every threat you've made, it's all documented. And this stunt right here, bringing cops to my ranch when I'm not under your jurisdiction, that's just more evidence in my favor." Her face paled, but she tried to keep her composure. "You can't sue us." "Watch me," I said coldly. "And here's another thing you don't know. This ranch supplies beef to half the restaurants in this county. I employ people. I pay taxes. You shut me down. You don't just hurt me, you hurt the community. The sheriff, the judge, the mayor, or a broken bar, they all know me. You're the outsider here, not me." The cop glanced between us, clearly realizing he'd been dragged into something he had no business in. "Ma'am," he said to Carol, "this is a civil matter, not criminal. You'll need to take it up in court." But Carol didn't back down. She muttered something about unsanitary conditions and animal control. I could see the fear creeping in her eyes, though. She knew she'd gone too far. I leaned in closer so only she could hear. "You think you're dealing with some pushover farmer. You're not. You're dealing with a man who's fought droughts, wildfires, and recessions. You think I'm scared of your home? Lady, you don't know who you're dealing with. Her lips tightened, and for once, she had no comeback. She climbed back into her SUV, her board members following like scared puppies. One by one, their shiny cars drove off, leaving only dust behind. The cops left too, realizing they'd been used as pawns in a personal vendetta. As the silence returned to my ranch, I felt a wave of relief. But more than that, I felt pride, not just in standing up to them, but in defending my family's legacy. This wasn't just land, it was roots, heritage, blood, sweat, and tears. A week later, my lawyer called. They're folding, he said. The HOA doesn't want the lawsuit to go public. They'll leave you alone. I stood on my porch that evening, watching the sun dip behind the fields. My cattle grazed peacefully, and the air was thick with the smell of fresh hay. I thought about my father, my grandfather, and the generations before me. They'd all faced their battles to keep this land, and now it was my turn. The lesson was simple but powerful: never let anyone bully you into giving up what's yours, whether it's your land, your dreams, or your piece of Minda underground. Because sometimes, the best way to fight back isn't with fists or anger. It's with truth, resilience, and the unshakable knowledge that you belong right where you are.